Welcome to the Kinetic Faith Show. I'm your host, Rick Crump, founder and executive director of Kinetic Faith. At Kinetic Faith, we draw a hard line between evil and its intended target to interpose on behalf of our neighbor. In a world of who, what, when, why, and where things are going wrong, we're the how to get something done about it. Thanks for tuning in to WFYL. If you're tuning in on the radio and would like to see the video of our show, go to the WFYL website at 1180wfyl.com and select the live video feed.
So actively acting out.
Hey, welcome to the show, folks. We have a special guest today. We have Ambassador and U.S. Senate candidate Carla Sands with us in the studio today. Welcome to the Kinetic Faith Radio Show.
Thanks, Rick. I love the term kinetic faith, and I love to be in the freedom bunker, too.
Yeah, the freedom bunker. We say it's the last place where raw truth can be spoken. We're in the basement section of where our team offices are. And thanks. Kinetic faith was a term that came to me several years ago when I realized as Christians that we were too much on the bench, that a lot of what was happening in society was because we were disengaging from it, and we were out there educating people and training them how to get mobilized, how to get kinetic with their faith. So it's great to have you on the show today. So, wow, you have an action-packed day. I'm sure every day as a candidate is pretty action-packed. You've been on this morning, you were at diners and shaking hands and meeting the people directly, and then today you've got back-to-back media coverage, and so it's a pleasure and it's a privilege to have you in the studio. So thanks for making time for us.
Thanks a lot, Rick. And I just want to say just about that kinetic faith that one of the things I'm calling to fellow believers and people who want to preserve our liberties and freedoms is that we're called to be the salt and the light in the earth. We're supposed to be being active in the public square and in our politics and in our culture and our media, and we forgot. We stayed in our businesses, our homes, and our churches. We forgot that we're called to do that, and so that is the body right now coming out, and that's one of the reasons I'm running, because we're called to be that, and I will always work to protect our religious liberty and our, I will just call constitutional freedoms, including our freedom of speech, which we're exercising right now, which is so fundamental to our liberty.
Isn't it funny how we look at liberty, we look at our religious freedoms, and we state them in different terms, but I think you get this, that they're so intertwined, it's hard to know where one starts and the other stops, because you can't have our Constitution the way it was written without a moral conscience of the people, right? And you see how it's being disregarded. And you can't have the religious freedoms without the Constitution to protect the God-given rights. And so it's a very symbiotic relationship, and I'm glad to hear you say what you said. We actually use that term salt and light a lot when we're on the road doing our training seminars, and what we like to point out to people is that as Christians, we're often accused of imposing our beliefs, but it's really the left that's imposing, isn't it? At the end of the day, being a Christian is being an advocate. It's saying, look, I believe that you have, we call it heart cancer. You have heart cancer, you need a cure for heart cancer. I would be negligent if I didn't advocate for a cure for heart cancer. But it's up to the other person to decide whether they want to accept that treatment, whether they want to accept that solution, right? And when people are talking about being salt and light is what Christ expects of us no matter what you think the state of the world is. Mm-hmm. And what's it the church always said salt did? Salt preserves, and light chases away darkness. Well, not to get too much into this, because this is my bailiwick and I don't want to put you on the spot, but we're always challenging people in the church to say, how's that working out for us? Are we really being the salt and light we need to be? Because are we really preserving our republic? Are we preserving our values? And are we being the light that chases away darkness, or is the darkness creeping in? And so that's what our core mission is at Kinetic Faith, is to be that preservation and to be that light in the darkness. And so we're excited to have you on the program today. We're very excited that you share those values, and would be super excited if you could go back to Washington and help pierce the darkness there too.
Right, but I will just challenge all of your listeners and viewers that we're supposed to do this, and just whether they're going to run for a row office, for school board, for a higher office, or whether they're just going to be vocal, loud and proud about believing what we believe and promoting it, that's important, not to be silenced, not to let the left silence us. We are not the party of censorship. We're the party actually of acceptance, because Jesus loved everybody. And so he said, love one another. We're supposed to do that. The left is the one that censors, that is hateful, that is negating our liberties every day, and they're on the march. I will always be on the offense on behalf of our liberties.
Amen. Amen. Well, let's talk a little bit about your platform and what you see as the biggest risk to those liberties today. Could you name the top 2 or 3 things that you see as the risk that should be the agenda in the Senate?
Well, number one for everyone in Pennsylvania is the inflation. It's hurting especially our seniors on a fixed income and our working families. And the inflation is a direct result, in spite of what Joe Biden says, it's a direct result of the multi-trillion-dollar big bad bills that they have passed that are stuffed, they're multi-trillion-dollar bills, stuffed with Green New Deal policy, with $10 billion here to this leftist organization, $100 billion to this leftist city to bail them out, and very little good things for the people of Pennsylvania. What I'll do in Washington on day one is stop the out-of-control spending. I will not vote to approve too much money. We're going to look at the money the federal government spends, because it's not their money, it's our money.
Amen.
As if it's our own, and say, is it good for Pennsylvania? Is it constitutional? Can we afford it? These people are Marxists that are in charge of our government right now. So what they're doing is they're advocating and promoting and passing policy that is going to limit our freedom. For instance, one of their goals under their Green New Deal agenda is to control the temperature in our houses. So we won't be able to decide if we want to make it a little cooler or a little warmer. The federal government, under their climate agenda, under their Green New Deal policies, is going to control the temperature. I reject that. And I say, I get to decide. I'm an American citizen, and I'm not going to let the federal government take that power and control our citizens. And that's as minutia, and then the big as well. The war on Pennsylvania farmers.
Right.
Like the over-regulation of our farms with control of the water, control of how much methane, the death tax that they're still trying to pass that'll take our family farms and small businesses and not allow them to be passed down to the next generation. We need our family farms. Those are the backbone of Pennsylvania, not just our economy, but our culture.
Don't you find it interesting that I like to subscribe to what I call the kitchen table economics? If my wife and I sit down at the kitchen table and we take out a pad of paper or our spreadsheet today, right? Yeah. And we're working through the numbers and the numbers don't add up, we simply say, we can't do it, right? The further away you get from that kitchen table to DC, it's like more the laws of physics get suspended. But then I find it interesting that what started at my kitchen table that doesn't make sense, they want to go to DC and manipulate and claim that it makes total sense. But then when they're in DC, where are they trying to get back to? They're trying to get back into my kitchen. They're trying to get back into my thermostat. They're trying to get back into regulating the way I'm living my life. So what doesn't make sense in my own home, they do with impunity in DC, and then they use that power in DC to infringe my rights in my own home. That is, if that's not the definition of insanity, I don't know what is.
I don't either. And I just want to introduce myself to your listeners in case they
please.
Don't know. So I'm Carla Sands, and I'm from Cumberland County in Camp Hill. I'm the oldest of 7 kids from a loving, faith-filled family, and I became a doctor of chiropractic and practiced alongside my dad in Camp Hill. My first real job was at Hershey Park. I don't know if any of you have been to Hershey Park or worked there, but afterward, my education, my work, marriage, and diplomacy have taken me across our great country and around the world. And I'm an 8th generation Pennsylvanian, and my Pennsylvania ancestors fought in the American Revolution, and they fought in the Civil War. And this is our time to fight for the heart and soul of our great country. I'm also pro-life, and I'm pro-First Amendment, pro-Second Amendment. I'm actually a constitutional conservative, and I'm America First, and a businesswoman, a Christian, and a mom. And I pledge to you, if you'll send me to the United States Senate, I will take my faithfulness to Washington. I will take my business experience, foreign policy experience, trade policy, and defense policy experience with me, and I will always put Pennsylvania virtues first and advocate for America first every day.
It kind of boggles my mind that a candidate has to explicitly say that they'll put America first. Isn't that disturbing that you actually have to be the candidate that says you'll do that? I mean, when Donald Trump said that and it resonated with the American people, I I don't want to put you on the spot. So if there's something you don't want to talk about, you just tell me. But I look at what he did, and he got so much criticism for saying, make America great again. Why? Oh, we can't say there's anything wrong with America in the first place because that would be defeatist. No, that's dealing with reality and speaking truth to the people in love, right?
That's right.
Oh, we can't say this, we can't say that. And to say putting America first, when it resonated with us as Americans, what was so powerful was when we finally looked around and go, wow, you're right. We haven't been doing that.
Right.
And
Didn't it feel good?
It felt really good. And I really think that's why the Republican Party had an issue with him, quite frankly, and as much as the rhinos and the left, was because at the end of the day, they really didn't want the American people to figure out that we hadn't been doing that. And they didn't really want the people to figure out that something really was rotten in Denmark.
Right, so to speak, because the globalist aspirations, I mean, one of the reasons that Pennsylvania, our small towns like Johnstown and other towns and cities across Pennsylvania have hollowed out over the last 40 plus years is because there was policy from Washington and from the state that encouraged the offshoring of our jobs and our companies. And that's why so many of those towns, people went from being prosperous, one earner could support a family really comfortably, to two people in the family scraping by and working multiple jobs, just trying to put food on the table and gas in the gas tank. And that's the Biden administration's playbook, is they're really pressing our middle class. I want to bring those manufacturing jobs back and bring back opportunity to Pennsylvania so that we don't lose families and companies. So we bring them back. We have the unbelievable resources. We have enough energy in the ground right here in Pennsylvania to power the entire country for over 300 years. And it's green, it's clean, it's natural gas, and we can harvest it cleanly. We can lay the pipes, and that's the cleanest way to move it. And then we can sell some to our friends and allies in Europe so they don't have to buy Putin's energy, which we can see is not just a commodity, it's a weapon. So I called for Operation Warp Speed to really do this quickly and to bring back our American energy dominance. We have to, not just for our economic security, to save those families from scraping by, trying to pump gas and put food on the table, but also it's our national security. Because even today, New England is importing Russian gas instead of domestic gas.
That's crazy. That's insane. We're
crazy.
the birth of the revolution.
Right.
Right. So I've heard, I don't have the stats here in front of me. I apologize to the audience, but I've read that there's only like 2 or 3 states in the union that could be self-sustaining if there was to be autonomous states, right? Pennsylvania is one of them. You look at Texas, you look at Pennsylvania, and I'm trying to remember the other one, but basically, I'm not suggesting we do secede from the union. Don't interpret that way. But if there was Pennsylvania and there was nothing else around us as far as a country that we belong to, we could be self-sustaining if we could take the shackles off. I mean, you're telling us we can't drill for our own oil. You're telling us we can't, manufacture our own goods. You're telling, like, the punitive measures of the Biden administration are maddening. I will tell you this. This is one thing I'd like to ask you about. I think that any senator, even Joe Manchin, even though I'm grateful that Joe Manchin's in the position that he's in because he's at least the one reasonable Democrat that's there, right? No other senator from another state should have as much power in Pennsylvania as they do. You shouldn't have as much say about Missouri as they're going to give you. I mean, the bottom line is every single person in Washington right now has way too much say of what goes on in another person's state that didn't vote them in. Is that fair?
Well, I think that all the senators have to serve on different committees. And so we do have a say internationally and nationally. There's no question. And we have to be experts. A couple of things. When your listeners and viewers are pumping their gas at the gas station, I want them to think of Carla Sands for the Senate because I'm going to bring that price down. I'll be their energy senator. I worked on these issues as the U.S. ambassador from 2017 until 2021, working to promote and sell American natural gas, and I'll do it for Pennsylvania. Also, we have a faith coalition. It's over 70 pastors and churches across our Commonwealth supporting our campaign. And I'm from Cumberland County, and in my county, actually in my childhood home, my father helped to found in our living room a church called Christ Community Church, and it has almost 2,000 members now. One of the pastors there is leading our faith coalition. I wanted to make sure to share that with you.
Do they live their faith kinetically?
They live their
That's
faith
what
kinetically,
that's what
and
matters.
it's becoming more kinetic.
Good.
Because we're
God bless
waking
them.
up. And why we're waking up is because Joe Biden and that administration are so radical. They're Marxists, and we're realizing that our life as we know it will not be enjoyed by our kids unless we move really, really quickly. I think
there is a quickening that's happening right here. I mean, the one thing we have to acknowledge is that these are issues that need to be grappled with quickly. We don't have time for multiple iterations, multiple multiple election cycles anymore. The people we get in there, we need you to be a pit bull. We need you to go in there with a steel spine and say what needs to be said. I think it was, and Trump proved that it could be done. I mean, that man got more done in the first 2 years for the unborn, for the state of Israel, for our economy, for the elderly.
Yes.
I mean, you just go on and on and on. And that was just the first 2 years.
True. So I went and visited our new embassy in Jerusalem with our great ambassador, Ambassador David Friedman. And he was terrific. He did so much good. He worked on the peace accords, the Abraham Accords, that were revolutionary. And he, along with 16 other Trump ambassadors, have endorsed our campaign. But as a matter of fact, while I was the U.S. ambassador working in the administration, we worked to increase U.S. jobs, and we actually increased them. We increased our trade over 43%.
Wow.
That was terrific progress. We also worked to secure our country against adversaries like Russia and China. And we worked with the Department of Defense and NATO. We worked with Commerce, Interior, Energy, Treasury, the State Department, the White House. We were relentless, the DOD said, when they gave me their highest civilian honor. It's called the Medal for Distinguished Public Service. We did things like put a consulate in Greenland. We hadn't been there for 67 years, and China was trying to do debt diplomacy there and finance and build airports. So we stopped them. We did it by blocking Chinese-made 5G, blocking that Russian gas pipeline. The only place it was never completed is where I was the U.S. ambassador in Danish waters. But we did other things on behalf of the United States. We put a Coast Guard billet in Denmark. You know, I went and talked to the Coast Guard commandant. In fact, Denmark is a NATO ally, and they promised in 2014 that they would pay 2% of their GDP to NATO for their defense, and they weren't doing it when I got there. They were paying a little more than 1%. So I went on a Navy frigate with the head of their Navy, and it was a big, beautiful battleship. And they said, "You want to see the missile silos?" And I said, "Sure." So they took me inside these silos, and they were like 30, 40 feet high. And I said, "This is great. Where are the missiles?" And they said, "Oh, Madam Ambassador, we don't have the money to buy the missiles." So every news interview I did, I talked about no missiles in the silos. They started doing caricatures of me telling the Prime Minister, no missiles in the silos. And guess what? We were able to get them to increase their NATO spending. I took them to Raytheon in Arizona. We sold them American-made missiles, so American jobs. They were more interoperable with NATO, and they lifted their NATO spending, which makes them a more capable partner. If they don't have missiles, they can't defend themselves, which is Article 3 of the NATO agreement. Before Article 5, you come to the defense of others. First, you have to defend yourself.
Yeah. So, you bring up your ambassador experience, and that's important. We do need people in office that have a good rounded perspective. What would you like the audience to know when it comes to your international experience as an ambassador? I don't think most of us understand truly what a day in the life of an ambassador is like. Obviously, there's a lot of expectation. There's a lot, one international incident away from everything, right? I can imagine you wake up every day feeling a little bit of pressure on your shoulders, plus being part of the European Union. Denmark being in the European Union and feeling. You went through Brexit, I believe, at that time. Was that?
It was a very, very big deal.
Right. So give us a sense of why that experience matters and what that brings, what perspective that helps you bring to the table.
Sure. So there's nobody on either side of the aisle running for the Senate here in Pennsylvania that's ready on day one except me. Okay. And it's because of my experience, both as a businesswoman and also as a U.S. ambassador, having worked on international trade issues, fighting for free and fair trade. We don't have it, but we worked hard to make it better, and I can do more in the Senate. We worked on the defense issues. I talked a little bit about Russia and China deterring them. In the high north, we had been absent for decades, And Russia was all over the place with their subs. They have missiles on their icebreakers. They have 40 icebreakers. We have 2, even though we're an Arctic nation. We have Alaska. So we are not keeping up with the competition. Russia is extremely militarized in their north, all along the Arctic.
What is it? McCain called them a bully with a gas station, right? I mean, they technically are. Whatever you think about McCain,
Right.
He was pretty right about that. With that you've got this nuclear armed country that decides to invade another country, and they're predominantly powered by oil. Why is our administration not doing more to leverage that and take care of that?
Right. It's when common sense ceases to be used, because we know Europe tried to go to a really green agenda. And because of that, they didn't have enough energy and they had to import more Russian gas. Biden, he's so radical. He's trying to walk us into the same crisis. I'm seeing predictions. We may have brownouts and blackouts this summer because they're trying to transition to green.
We're a first world country.
Right. And our natural gas is
and we're going to have
clean.
food shortages, and we're going to have brownouts and blackouts. And like, American people, wake up. Wake up. We need people in office right now that are going to take these issues on and go on offense. Please go on offense on these issues.
Right. This is socialism. This is socialism 101. They create a crisis and then they're going to come in and fix it. So we know that socialism doesn't work. It leads to scarcity. It leads to pitting people against each other because they want more.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the 7 deadly sins, right?
Yeah.
We don't want to covet what other people have. We want to do our best and make a great life. And that's why I'm running also, is to create opportunity. So your viewers, kids and grandkids, can have a hope to have a better life than their parents. That's the American dream. And I want to reignite the Pennsylvania dream. So grandparents don't have to fly to see their grandkids. Those kids can build a great life right here in Pennsylvania. That's my goal. It's achievable, but you have to have the vision and the desire to do it. I'm a hardworking Central Pennsylvania girl. I will never back down on achieving that vision. But I also wanted to talk, there's a couple of other people in the race, and I just want to lay out the playbook of what we're looking at. So I'm experienced. I am the only person with all of this foreign experience, foreign policy, defense policy, trade policy experience, having run a business with a nationwide footprint and hundreds of employees, and then running a very small business as a doctor of chiropractic and understanding those challenges too. Now we have a couple of guys in the race, Mehmet Oz and Dave McCormick, and I like to call them Turkey first and China first, and they've both flip-flopped on all the major issues. Voters don't trust them. Even though they've spent tens of millions of dollars beating each other up and promoting themselves, voters don't trust them. They know that they can't trust them to go to Washington and fight for Pennsylvania. Because like I said about Dave McCormick at one of the recent debates, he's Mitt Romney McCormick. He'll make bad deals with the Democrats. And then we have Mehmet Oz, who served in the Turkish military, not the U.S. military, even though he was born in Ohio. And we have him on record, many, many episodes, that he doesn't share our values, whether it's life or the Second Amendment. He called for the CDC to help regulate guns. The corrupt CDC, we all saw what they did during the pandemic and the collusion there, and many other issues, transgender minors. He even got jussied by Jussie Smollett when they did that hoax in Chicago, and nobody with any sense believed that. I don't know how he could counter Russia and China if he can get schnookered by Jussie Smollett. And then we have 2 candidates who are conservative in the race. It's me and a lady named Kathy, but she lost her last race by 20 points in a red wave year, and they didn't steal it by 20 points. Also, I'll just say Republicans reject the politics of identity. We reject identity politics. That's not who we are. And I'll say this, sadly, she is Kamala Harris 2.0. She cackles in the face of the voters. I've seen her do it. We cannot have another Kamala Harris who's unprepared and cackling in the face of the voters. That's my statement about the other candidates. That's why I hope your voters will vote for me. I'm a fighter. I'll fight for them every day. And I don't have an agenda. I've been talking about the voters, not about myself, not promoting.
I was going to say, one thing you probably don't have to say is that you're a conservative, because the platform that you've run on, the history you have, shows that you are. One of my favorite quotes from Margaret Thatcher was she said, the Iron Lady.
One of my heroes.
She's awesome, isn't she? She said once, she says, being powerful is like being a lady. If you have to say you are, you're not. And that's what reminds me of when Mitt Romney ran and he kept saying, I'm a conservative, I'm a conservative, I'm a conservative. Well, who are you trying to convince, me or you, Mitt? Right. Okay. And I look at this and I go, what's Oz running on right now? Oz is running on, let me go convince everybody I'm a conservative. I'm sorry, but if you have to keep saying it, you built this, just let me have my say.
I'm listening.
You have to, you run around and you build this media presence, compromising and biting your tongue the whole time and not having the spine to stand up for values. You make your money in one state, you work in another state, you run in another state, you raise your money in another state. And now no wonder you have to go convince people you're a conservative. And we need to do more than just name recognition, don't we? We really need to look at the values of these people and what their track record shows. What does their track record show? Margaret Thatcher was dead on. The more you have to say it, the more you're not.
That's right. And there's an old saying in sports, too. You are what your record says you are.
Yeah.
And we all have a track record.
That's right. That's right.
Mine's searchable, and so is everybody else's.
Absolutely. I tell you what, I mean, I don't know that I could ever run as a candidate, not because I have any shady skeletons or anything, but because I'm when you do what I do, you got to give people the hard truth in love, and you got to tell them the way it is, and that doesn't always come across well. So I know not everybody can run for office, but one thing I would never have to worry about if I did is I'd never have to worry about somebody uncovering something in my past that made them question whether or not I really had a steel spine to go to Washington to do what needs to get done. And so that's Well, I'm gonna bite my tongue, but I'm just gonna say it. You don't have to respond to it. I'm a little shocked that Trump gave him the endorsement. I'm a little disappointed, but that's a different story. That doesn't change my mind about Trump. But Oz, seriously, dude, you need to go back to being a celebrity and let the adults at the adult table handle things. Right,
the adults. We need the adults in the room to stop
That's
the
right.
Biden administration and
That's
their agenda.
Exactly right.
Because like I said, they're Marxists. It's AOC and Bernie Sanders' party now.
Yeah.
It's no longer JFK's party.
That's right.
Yeah, they changed. We didn't change.
Oh, I use JFK all the time. I mean, you look at a JFK
the
Democrat.
Speeches are beautiful.
They believed in borders. They believed there were two sexes. They believed in national defense. They believed in a free economy. They believe.
How about this? Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
What you can do for your country, right? And you look at the Kennedy liberals versus the Marxist leftists today, and there's a stark contrast. And one of the things we try to point out too to people is, look, if you're a Democrat liberal, trust me, it's like Joe Manchin is figuring this out. That the Marxists of the Biden administration are truly his enemy, not the Republicans.
That's right. It's the patriots are rising up and saying, we love our country and we want to protect it. I didn't even mention the border, I don't think.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but we just got about 3 minutes here left, so I wanted to give you the microphone. So take us to the end here.
Okay. Well, just to wrap it up, I want to secure our border and build the wall because we have to stop the illegal immigration. It's an invasion. And the fentanyl coming from China, the CCP, and the cartels working together is another kind of war because it's the number one killer of our youth, this fentanyl. To the moms and grandmas, I'll work on curriculum transparency. I'll make sure that we don't indoctrinate their kids to hate each other and hate our great country. And I'll make sure we ban the sexual grooming of young children. It's wrong. I also want every child, their guardian or parent, to have the money for their schooling in almost like a health savings account so the parent can put that child wherever their God-given potential can be most well realized. I want peace around the world. For that, we need peace through strength. Ronald Reagan's peace through strength. We don't have it right now. We have the weak and corrupt and compromised Joe Biden in the White House. I want to hold the Democrats accountable for the unlawful things that they've done. No one has been incarcerated from 2016 to today. All of the things that were done illegally against the American people and President Trump, starting with that open border, which is unconstitutional. He has the responsibility.
It's immoral, too.
But he took an oath to secure the country and to defend the United States, the people. He's not defending our people. Instead, he's giving them cash. He's giving them housing, transportation, all free. And phones, you and I aren't getting that. Your viewers aren't getting that. So we have to make sure that doesn't continue, that we stop him, and we'll stop him after the November election.
If I go across the border and come back, can I get all that stuff?
I don't know. Let's find out.
That's crazy, isn't it?
It's crazy. So I have a website, carlasands.com.
carlasands.com.
carlasands.com. And your listeners, I want them to go there. We need their help. They can volunteer. We're still doing phone banking and door knocking and get out the vote. Whatever they want to do, I want them to volunteer. If they can support us, we'd love to have a few bucks to help our campaign continue. We're running through the tape. I am going to win this race. The voters don't believe the polls. Remember Trump in 2016, the polls were wrong.
Vote your values.
Vote your values.
Vote
and
your
we
values.
have this grassroots campaign across the Commonwealth. And then we have our wonderful faith community support. We're going to win this thing. We are no longer going to be the silent majority. We're going to be the loud and proud majority and promote our values. I hope that they will go out on May 17th, if they didn't already mail in their ballot, May 17th, and vote for Carla Sands for the Senate. I'll be the last name on the ballot, and I hope to earn their vote.
All right. Well, let's see if the Lions will finally roar. Well, thank you for coming to the show today. It's been fantastic having you. For those of you joining us and were able to join us live, thanks for tuning in. We have Carla Sands here. Look, get out on Tuesday and vote, folks. This is too important of a race. There's too much at stake. We have got to get those primary numbers up as far as turnout. And if what's happening with the Biden administration right now can't motivate somebody to get out of the polls, I don't know what does.
We have to beat John Fetterman in November. Please don't vote your heart,
right?
Vote your head. Who can beat John Fetterman in November? Who has the policy chops and will go toe-to-toe with him and never back down and be a trusted conservative vote in the Senate, but also bring those suburban moms along? I'm going to protect their kids. I'm going to make sure their towns are safe. Thank you very much for your vote.
All right. Well, thanks. We're going to leave it there for today. Thanks for tuning in today. And remember, at Kinetic Faith, we don't give ground because we're always on offense. Thanks for listening.
Is that your saying, you're always on offense? That's my saying too.
Is it?
I'm always on
That's
offense.
awesome.
Yeah.